attention from that, the seriousness of the issue or the idea that I'm putting across. Yeah. So that's my personal advice based on the work that I've done for the past 30 years. Yeah. Working with different across the region, doing presentations, support and development with different organizations, right? I would say the jokes would be useful when you are in a different context, like you are in a town hall, or you're doing, it's an issue that's not so time sensitive or important, then maybe you use jokes. But keep in mind, yeah, you must be able to know how to tell jokes. The joke must land well with the audience, and it's appropriate. Yeah. Steve Jobs used to use a lot of jokes or humor. His humor was a different kind of humor. His humor was about himself. Yeah. His humor was about himself. So he made fun of himself. Yeah. So, and of course he was Steve Jobs. So if people laugh at him, it's no big deal because, he's big boss and he's made a name for himself. Yeah. So Makara, there's a slightly long answer, but I hope I've given you different ways of thinking about whether you should use jokes or not.
Yes, thank you, Madam.
Yeah. And we've got another question. What are signs of objections, verbal, non-verbal, to observe before transitioning to presenting data? Very good question. Okay, so verbal would be obviously they will interrupt. Okay, they will interrupt. That's the most frequent, most obvious verbal objection. They will interrupt, they will ask you questions, or they will debate that point with you. All right. So then you've chosen the wrong statement. Non-verbals, once again, let's look at generically. So generically, when you go for any training, people will you read body language books, they will give you some examples of what is positive non-verbal signals, what are negative non-verbal signals, okay? I will say take that and put it in context with the person. So you need to observe the person and see the person's patterns. Sometimes some people, they do this very naturally. This? They cross their hands, right? They cross their hands and they sit like this naturally. Yeah. How would you know? You need to see a pattern. Do they always do it? Or do they do it when they're not happy with something and then do that? All right. So you need to look for patterns. Just because crossing of hands may be something that is said in body language book as someone who's negative, it doesn't necessarily mean that it always happens that way. Sometimes I'm just crossing my hand because I'm sitting on just above me, there's an aircon, right? And it's very, very cold. So I'm crossing my hand to hold the body temperature in. Yeah. So it's patterns and also situations. That's one. Another non-verbal could be frowns. And sometimes that is also something that can signal that the person is not too happy. And you might just say, you know what, I'm just going to stop here and see if there's anything that people are, is there anything that that you like to clarify? No, nothing to clarify. Very good. I'm going to take that as we're good to go. No objections, and then move on. Yeah. So yeah, those are things for you to consider. There's guidelines, and then there's patterns for you to help you make those decisions. I hope I answered your questions. Right. Yes, observe the patterns. Right. That is the best way for you to see whether the person is aligned or not. Okay. I am so happy with all those questions because it tells me that what we covered today resonates with you, and that you have questions, and I'm glad that I've answered all the questions that have been brought up. Tengwa, over to you. We are at 12 o'clock.
Hi, thank you, Sharmini. Yeah, for the so
I have not answered my questions.
Which?
I sent to the question and answer.
yes, I'm just clicking it out. Thanks, Ekta. Let's say we are in a deadly situation. Should we also have to deal with zero objection, logical empathy point Shamini has raised? What would be a deadly situation, Ekta?
I said below, for example, in the situation of hostage crisis.
Okay, sorry, ISIS. Okay. This one I cannot answer the question. I cannot answer the question because one, it's outside of my purview. I actually don't know the answer to this because it is a very specific situation that's not business related. So I can't answer that question. Sorry, don't have the answer.
No problem. Thank you anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for bringing it up, and thank you for highlighting that we missed that. Okay, Kengwa, over to you. You're on mute, Kengwa.
Hello, Kengwa.
Hi, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Let us have a poll first. Okay, for the thing today. Yeah. Thank you, Sharmini, for the.
Welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Please give us your feedback on the webinar. Thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah, you can see in the polls. Yeah.
Okay, những bọn ai chui rồi về lên check đi năng mùi tới là bảy đàn thà bảy đá bọn họ con trận đó. Tonight all of the participant is a panelist, so panelist cannot vote, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
And so some who is a panelist, you need to only 5 people. Okay, so all attendees can vote. Okay, sorry. Okay.
Okay, we will close the poll soon in 30 seconds. Yeah, please give us your feedback on the poll. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much for your polls and thank you for the feedback. Okay. 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 Thank you everybody for the feedback. Okay, thank you Sharmini for the webinar, and thank you everybody for attending. Hope you have a good weeks ahead and have a good weekend. Yeah, we will end this webinar.
Hold on, Kengwa.
Yeah, yes.
Ekta has hands up.
Yeah, Ekta, yeah. Anything you want to add on?
I recommend next time the reason I'm talking about the hostage crisis. You know, in some country we have different business situation. Although I am myself is not a business person, I'm official journalist, communication analysis, and scholar, and of course government official. But I would suggest you to add a different topic. For example, you know, in some country they have a hostile environment for business. You know, even kidnap, taking hostages, bank robbery. In those deadly situations, how do we deal with our enemy? You know, do we have to deal with what you just said? You know, zero objection, agree to by the stakeholder or logical and embassy. We do not have time to do that.
No.
In this respect, in this regard, we have to deal with a new psychological or some sort of technique For example, you know, like if you kill me, you will gain nothing.
Yeah.
You know, we have the same, you know, same life value. I'm just a bank worker. I'm just a banker. I'm not the owner of the bank. Something like that. Say something. Try to win the heart of your hostage taker. This is somewhat what I went through my life through the killing field. You know, I was born in 1971. I went through quite suffering during the Civil War in my country. When I wrote book, I wrote novel, I always thinking about what would you do in a desperate, deadly situation, in the fighting, in the gun battle, you know, like that. This is also related to environment, to the business as well.
Correct. And you're right. That they need different techniques and different methodologies, right? When you negotiate for business and when you negotiate in a hostage situation, you call it negotiations, but it is of a different the set of toolkit that you need. And I agree with you on that. What my work is around the, I would say, the safer side of business, which is the regular business proposal. But you're spot on. It needs different skill sets. I agree with you on that one, Ekta. Thank you for sharing that with us and bringing that up.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Kengwa, we can close the room, I think, if no one else has any other question.
Okay, because Kengwa is busy, so I hold this step. So thank you so much for every participant that joined us, and thank you so much for our speaker, Sharmini. So hope next time we can meet all participants and do together for the new topics. So have a nice day, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yes, bye-bye, everyone.